All right, I'm going to get started. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to go over combination vehicles and air brakes. Okay, so rollovers. More than half of truck driver deaths in crashes are the result of truck rollovers. When more cargo is piled up in a truck, the center of gravity moves higher up from the road. The truck becomes easier to turn over. Fully loaded rigs are 10 times more likely to roll over in a crash than your empty rigs. Two things to help you to prevent a rollover. Keep the cargo as close to the ground as possible. Drive slowly around turns. Keeping cargo low is even more important in combination vehicles than in straight trucks. Keep the load centered on your rig. If the load is to one side, so it makes a trailer lean, a rollover is more likely. Make sure your cargo is centered and spread out as much as possible. So if you look at this picture right here, this is what we call loose loaded. So it's not palletized. So, it's just boxes all up in here. Does this look like the right or wrong way to load the trailer? Just put it in the chat. Yeah, it's absolutely wrong. So if you open these doors, all of this can just fall on you once you get to your final destination. So anything that's loose loaded should not be loaded to what we call, the brim all the way to the back. You should definitely have some space right here, and you should definitely have some load bars or netting, something to, secure this so that when you open the doors, it doesn't just fall up on you. Those of you who are not leaving Texas for work, so you might get on Dollar General accounts or Dollar Tree, UPS, mail, Amazon. All of these are loose loaded trucks or trailers. So this is very common to see, but this is also very unsafe. So you want to make sure that, it's loaded and it's pushed back enough so that when you do open the doors, that it's not falling out. But also, it's not loaded all the way to the top as well. It's still very even, so that's good as well. It just needs to be pushed back. All right, so steering. You definitely want to steer gently. Trucks with trailers have a dangerous crack in the whip effect. Crack the whip effect can turn the trailer over when you make a quick lane change. Steer gently and smoothly when you are pulling trailers. If you make a sudden movement with your steering wheel, your trailer could very well so tip over. Look far enough down the road to avoid being surprised and having to make a sudden lane change. At night, drive slowly enough to see obstacles with your headlights before it is too late to change lanes or stop gently. You definitely want to slow down to a safe speed before going into a turn. Braking early. Control your speed whether you're fully loaded or empty. Large combination vehicles take longer to stop when they are empty than they do when they are fully loaded. All right, so you can't rely on the weight, of your vehicle to help you slow down. Your trailer can swing out and strike other vehicles. Your tractor can jackknife very quickly. All right, do we all know what jackknife is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's definitely something we want to prevent. My very first time going on the road when I got my permit, I left the yard and I was in the truck with my trainer, and we were in Missouri and it was snowing out. And when we left, I was working for Prime at the time. When we left the Prime terminal, we got on the highway. I wasn't even on the highway for a minute, and a truck just passed by us flying, went into the median and jackknifed. He absolutely had fell asleep. So he was asleep at the time. So, he didn't even know until, we actually got to his truck and woke him up. He was asleep even after impact. That's how hard he was asleep. But jackknifing is one of the biggest things that you will see when it's an accident. You jackknifing doesn't always have to be, you going off the road and your truck turning. You can be in a curve. You can be trying to make a right turn or a left turn and you turn too sharply and caused it to jackknife. You can be trying to back your trailer into a dock and jackknife. Okay, so it is something that is very common to happen, and it can happen very, very quickly. So you definitely want to make sure that you are paying attention at all times. Bobtails can be very hard to stop smoothly. It takes them longer to stop than a tractor semi-trailer loaded to maximum gross weight. So if you are bobtailing, which means you're driving the tractor by itself with no trailer, it torques faster, you can spin out faster, skid, etc. It does all of that faster. It's not easy to stop. So you definitely want to drive it very safely at a slow rate of speed, which is why you rarely see a bobtail, on the roadways by itself. Railroad highway crossings. Railroad highway crossings can also cause problems, particularly when pulling trailers with low underneath clearance. These trailers can get stuck on raised crossings, low slung units, low bar car carrier moving vans, possum belly livestock trailers, single axle tractor pulling a long trailer with its landing gear. All of these are examples of trailers or, truck and trailer combinations that can absolutely get you stuck on, a train track. So you definitely want to be cautious. And I like this sign, which is why I put it, because it shows me this trailer is entirely too low and it absolutely can get caught in this pivot right here because of it being a combination vehicle. All right, so if for any reason you get stuck on the tracks, you want to get out of the vehicle and away from the tracks. Check your signposts or signals housing at the crossing. For any emergency notification information, you want to call 911. You want to give the location of where you are, any identifiable landmarks if you're in a rural area, especially, the DOT number if it's posted. So sometimes you'll see, mile marker number 234. You want to give them that information, let them know if you're southbound or northbound or east or west. Any questions on that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Preventing trailer skids. When the wheels of a trailer lock up, the trailer will tend to swing around. This is more likely to happen when the trailer is empty or lightly loaded. Recognize the skid. The earliest and the best way to recognize that the trailer has started to skid is by seeing it in your mirrors. I mentioned this last week, if you can recall. You can tell when your trailer is starting to skid. Sometimes you can feel it, but you absolutely can see it. And it's one of the things that I did all the time when I was on the roads and it was snowing. I was definitely alert, especially if I'm driving in the middle of a snowstorm or fresh highways in the morning. When it's, if you guys have never, been in, those type of weather conditions in the morning, it is very slippery. Even though the roads are freshly plowed, it's still slippery. You have the sun that is coming out, which is helping to melt the snow that is on the ground. So it's water. But you also have, vehicles passing on the roads, that which helps heat it up, which is good. But also, if it's a rural area and you have, some roads that are vehicles passing, which helps heat up the road, the sun's melting the snow, and then you have gaps. In that gap of space, if there is a lot of wind, all of the snow that melted is now turning into ice. So it's a combination of what you have on the roadways. So you want to take your time and not speed because it looks like the road looks black. You can't see the ice that's on it. So you want to take your time. And then if you see your trailer starting to skid a little bit to the left or to the right, so it's swaying, then you definitely want to slow down even more or possibly pull over because you could be getting to a bed of black ice. You never know when you've gotten on black ice until you have got on it. And sometimes you cannot get yourself out of it. So you absolutely want to be cautious. Anytime you apply the brakes hard, check your mirrors to make sure that the trailer is staying, right where you need it to be. If you have skid out of your lane, you definitely want to try to gain control because it's absolutely difficult at that point to prevent you from jackknifing. And real quickly, what do you think happens after you jackknife? Can anyone answer that? Like if I jackknife, am I able to get back on the road?
You have to
No.
call a tow truck?
Yes. Yes, you most likely will have to get a tow truck. Anyone else? Okay, so what happens is all of the wires, your airlines, everything that was connected from your truck to your trailer has popped. So you have no air going to your trailer. So the tractor can keep going, as long as you didn't mess up anything underneath. But the trailer cannot. So the trailer would have to be towed at this point. It'd have to be lifted off the ground to the tires and then towed. So that's, the most part why, you have to get towed out. But yeah, so sometimes the tractor by itself is fine and the tractor can, disconnect and then you can get your trailer towed. But for the most part, sometimes the way you got jackknifed, you messed up your tractor also. Okay, so turns. When a vehicle goes around a corner, the rear wheels follow a different path than the front wheels. This is called off tracking. All right. Off tracking causes the path followed by a tractor to be wider than the rig itself. Longer vehicles will off track more. The rear wheels of the powered unit, which is your truck or tractor, will off track some, and the rear wheels of the trailer, if you see back here, will off track even more. Steer the front end wide enough around a corner so the rear end does not run over the curb, pedestrians, etc. So as you can see, he's going around the corner. He's very much so close. You don't want to turn like what this car is right here. You're going to take all of this out, all of this over here, even in the black. So you definitely want to come out and start turning. He can potentially hit all of this because he turned out, but he turned in too sharp. However, keep the rear of your vehicle close to the curb. This will stop other drivers from passing you on the right. If you cannot complete your turn without entering another traffic lane, turn wide as you complete the turn. This is better than swinging wide to the left before starting the turn because it will keep other drivers from passing you on the right. So this is basically saying, which you've all seen the diagram for a button and hook. If I'm in this lane and I come to the stop sign and it's a very narrow road, so it's not, like 4 lanes, it's just, 2 lanes, barely any shoulder. When you're coming up to this, you should stop normal. Okay, so if you're scanning, sometimes you can already see, oh, that's a narrow road coming up. So now you're kind of hugging the line over here. What you don't want to do is hug the line, but be in the middle of the line. So let's just say there was a line here. You don't want to be in the middle of that line. You're halfway in this lane and halfway in that lane. Okay, that's impeding traffic and that's a ticket. You don't want to do that. You also don't want to be all the way over here because it's a very tight road and then you have this blue car right here because what they're going to do is say, oh, I don't know what this truck is doing. They're crazy. Let me get around them. And they're going to try to get around you. And then, clearly just mess up everything you're trying to do. And then more cars can come and now you're stuck. Okay. So you don't want to do that either. So what you want to do is be kind of like exactly where this car is, maybe a little bit over, so that you have space here, but not enough space for a car to get between you and your trailer. And then you come out and you start making your turn. If you're making your turn, like right here is tight and he's turning in, I can tell by his tires. He shouldn't be turning in. He should be going out a little bit more and getting a little bit more on that side of the road. And then turning back in, if you can follow my cursor, and then go straight. So that's what he should be doing. It's kind of crazy because as I go over these lessons almost weekly, the fact that we still have to explain this, that cars, when they see us turning, that they should stop and let us turn. But no, they don't. They continue to try to get around us instead of letting us do what we need to do so we can be on the roadway safely. Any questions on that, on making the turns?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So trailer hand valve. The trailer hand valve, also called the Johnson bar, haven't heard anybody call that outside of this book, works the trailer brakes. The trailer and valve should be used only to test the trailer brakes. Do not use it in driving because of the danger of making the trailer skid, all right? So that's what you see right here on the steering wheel. A lot of your trucks do have this, all right? So I do want you to know what it's for. All right, so I'll go over this again. The trailer hand valve works the trailer brake, all right? But you do not use this while you're driving. Never use the hand valve for parking because all the air might leak out, unlocking your brakes. Always use the parking brakes when parking. If the trailer does not have spring brakes, use wheel chocks to keep the trailer from moving. All right, so tractor protection valve. The tractor protection valve keeps air in the tractor or truck brake system should the trailer break away or develop a bad leak. The tractor protection valve is controlled by the trailer air supply control valve in the cab. The control valve allows you to open and shut the tractor protection valve. The tractor protection valve will close automatically if air pressure is low in the range of 20 to 45 psi. When the tractor protection valve closes, it stops any air from going out of the tractor. It also lets the air out of the trailer emergency line. This causes the trailer emergency brakes to come on with possible loss of control. All right. Who knows what these two are? Anybody?
That's the park brakes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Your trailer and parking brakes.
Correct. Correct. So the trailer air supply control on newer vehicles is a red, you see here, 8-sided knob, which you use to control the tractor protection valve. You push it in to supply trailer with the air. You pull it out to shut off the air. You put on your trailer emergency brakes, all right? The valve will pop out, thus closing your tractor protection valve when the air pressure drops into the range of 20 to 45 psi. On trailer airlines, every combination vehicle has two airlines, your service line and your emergency line. Your service airline carries air which is controlled by your foot brake or the trailer handbrake. Depending on how hard you press the foot brake or hand valve, the pressure in the service line will change. The service line is connected to relay valves. These valves allow the trailer brakes to be applied more quickly than would otherwise be possible. If a major leak develops in the service line and you apply the brakes, you should have a low air warning. Okay? Any questions on that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Emergency air line. The emergency line has two purposes. First, it supplies air to our trailer air tank. Secondly, the emergency lines controls our emergency brakes on combination vehicles. Any loss of air pressure in the emergency line can cause the trailer emergency brakes to engage. The pressure loss could be caused by a trailer breaking loose, thus tearing apart the emergency air hoses. Or it could be caused by a hose, metal tubing, or another part breaking, letting the air out. When the emergency line loses air pressure, it also causes the trailer protection valve to close. Thus, our air supply knob will pop out, okay? Our glad hands. These are glad hands. Does anybody know what this black thing is called right here?
The seal? Oh,
That's right, glad hand seal. Okay, so glad hands are coupling devices used to connect the service and emergency air lines from the truck or tractor to the trailer. The couplers have a rubber seal which prevents air from escaping. You want to clean the couplers and rubber seals before a connection is made. When connecting the glad hands, press the two seals together with the couplers at a 90-degree angle to each other. A turn of the glad hand attached to the hose will join and lock the couplers. When coupling, make sure to couple the proper glad hands together. To help avoid mistakes, colors are used. Blue is used for the service lines and red for the emergency lines. Sometimes the words service and emergency or the letters S and E are stamped on them. If for any instance you are inside your truck after you've just connected your glad hands and you're losing a lot of air pressure, sometimes your glad hands just might not be tight. So go back and readjust them or make sure they're connected correctly and then try it again. Sometimes that's really all it takes is for you just to readjust them. Or your seals could be worn. All right. Give me 1 second, you guys. Okay, so if you do not cross the airlines, supply air will be sent to the service line instead of going to charge the trailer air tanks. Air will not be available to release the trailer spring brakes, which is your parking brakes, if the spring brakes don't release when you push the trailer air supply control. You want to check your airline connections. All right, so older trailers do not have spring brakes. If the air supply in the trailer air tank has leaked away, there will be no emergency brakes and the trailer wheels will turn freely. If you cross the air lines, you could drive away, but you wouldn't have trailer brakes. This would be very, very dangerous. So always test your trailer brakes before driving with the hand valve or by pulling your air supply control. Pull gently against them in a low gear to make sure the brakes work. All right. So regardless of what type of brakes you have, you should always be testing your brakes before you take off. All right. It's part of your pre-trip inspection. You should always, always, always test your brakes. Even if it was good the night before when you parked it You test it in the morning before you take off. Brakes fail all the time. That's something you will learn about these trucks, period. Going forward is that, you know, they break down all the time. It's never planned. But do your own due diligence to try to catch it before it happens while you're in transit. That's the worst thing that could happen, is that it happens while you're driving. Okay. All right, so dummy couplers are placed on the rear of the tractor cab to which the hoses may be attached when they are not in use. This will prevent water and dirt from getting into the coupler and the airlines. Use the dummy couplers when the airlines are not connected to your trailer, or to a trailer, I'm sorry. If there are no dummy couplers, the glad hands can sometimes be locked together depending on the couplings. It is very important to keep your air supply clean. So on the back of your tractors, they have the dummy couplers where you would just slide it in there and lock it in case you're bobtailing by yourself, you know, or you have a dump truck, etc., and you don't have a trailer connected to it. You just go ahead on and, you know, put it in there. In the event you don't have it, you can connect them together, and then you can use, you know, a wire, which a lot of them have a hanger, and you just, you know, attach it to the hanger so that they don't hang on the ground, causing, you know, sparks and things like that. All right, so we're going to do a quick little review. And in the chat, just put, you know, what the answer is. Correct, correct. You should use the hand valve to park a combination vehicle. In what instance? 1, 2, or 3? Only when necessary, never or always. Do you guys remember? Let's look at it real quickly. The trailer hand valve should be used only to test your trailer brakes. Do not use it in driving. Never use the hand valve for parking because all the air might leak out, unlocking the brakes. Always use your parking brakes when parking. If the trailer does not have spring brakes, use wheel chocks to keep the trailer from moving. All right, so now that I briefly went over it, what's our answer? You should use the hand valve to park a combination vehicle when? Correct. Under normal conditions, you should use the hand valve to prevent skids when applying the service brakes downhill. Never or only to keep the combination in a straight line while backing. I'm sorry, while braking. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys, I didn't know I was on mute. 2 things a driver can do to prevent rollovers involve keeping a low center of gravity and making sure the brakes are in adjustment, going slowly around turns, or downshifting only when necessary. Correct. Okay, you guys definitely paying attention. I like it. Which of these statements are true? Light vehicles require more braking power to stop than heavier ones. Heavy vehicles require more stopping distance than empty ones. Bobtail tractors require more stopping distance than fully loaded vehicles. Good job. The hand valve may be used to correct a trailer skid, to prevent a jackknife, or to test the trailer brakes. That's right, test your trailer brakes. You should not back a tractor under a trailer until the air system is at normal pressure, at least half of normal pressure, between 90 and 100 PSI. Anybody else? Absolutely want to make sure you are at normal pressure before you get under it. If the service line separates while you are driving, what will happen? Anybody else remember? Mr. Clark is correct. Nothing will happen until you step on the foot valve. You can supply air to the trailer air tanks by pushing in the trailer air supply valve, pulling out on the trailer supply valve, or pushing in the trailer air supply hand valve. That's correct. You want to push in your trailer air supply valve. Good job. The air lines on a combination vehicle are often color coded. The emergency line is, and the service line is. What colors are they? That's right. Your emergency line is red and your service line is blue. Okay. Trailers made before 1975 usually require glad hand converters, are usually heavier, often do not have spring brakes. That's right. That is correct. You are coupling a trailer to your tractor, but are not under it. What should you connect before continuing? The electrical cable, the emergency and service lines, nothing, just back up and couple it. Dominic or Naaman, y'all want to answer? That's correct. It's 3. So if we are backing our truck to our trailer, we absolutely don't want to have anything connected whatsoever. We want to just be able to back up and couple. If you're trying to connect lines, you could potentially pop the lines, which is the same effect as jackknifing. So you don't want to do anything until you connect. Once you make the connection and it's a proper connection, everything's connected correctly, then you want to go ahead and, connect your service line, your emergency line, your electric line, but not until you actually make that connection. A driver crossed the air lines when coupling to a trailer without spring brakes. The results would be, 1, he might be able to drive away, but would have no service brakes. 2, he could not drive away. 3, he could drive away, but would not have emergency brakes. Do y'all remember? Correct. Good job, Naaman. He would not have any trailer brakes. That is correct. So it would just be like if, you just pulled off with, instance, a regular trailer. So you would have no control of your trailer if you cross your lines. And when I say a regular trailer, like, just one of the regular small trailers that you might see landscapers with. So now you have, this big 53-foot trailer behind you with no brakes. So you definitely, want to make sure that you are connected the right way before you pull off. The airline glad hands should be attached to your dummy couplers to prevent air leakage, to keep out dirt and moisture, or to build air pressure. Anyone else want to take a stab at it? Okay, yes. So when we use our dummy couplers, that's because we are not attached to anything. So instead of our airlines just hanging on the ground, or just loosely flying behind us on the, while we're driving on the truck, we're gonna place them in the dummy couplers if we have them. So, it definitely helps to prevent, them being broken, or damaged, but it also helps to stop from moisture and dirt from getting inside of them. So it would be number 2. The safety catch for the fifth wheel must be blank the locking lever. I threw that in here. Let's see. Good job. Good job. Your emergency line develops a severe leak while you are driving. The loss of pressure will, 1, cause the tractor protection valve to close, cause the low air pressure warning system to activate, or cause both of the above to occur. Correct. Both will happen. This is the last question, and then I'll let you guys take a 10-minute break. You're doing really, really well. You have a major leak in the service line and you put on the brakes. You should first expect the tractor spring brakes to apply, a low air pressure warning, or the trailer spring brakes to be inoperative. Right. That is correct. Okay, so we are going to see where are we in time? 11:06. So let's come back at 11:16, you guys. Let's take a 10-minute break. Okay, let's get started. So now we're going to talk about coupling and uncoupling. Okay, so coupling and uncoupling is very, very important. Absolutely important. You want to inspect your fifth wheel. This is what the fifth wheel looks like right here. I'm sorry, clicked over too fast. Just want to zoom in just a little bit. All right, so how do we inspect our fifth wheel? We want to check for damaged or missing parts. We want to check to see that mounting to the tractor is secure. There are no cracks in the frame, etc. Be sure that the fifth wheel plate is greased as required. Failure to keep the fifth wheel plate lubricated could cause steering problems because of friction between our tractor and our trailer. We want to check if the fifth wheel is in proper position for coupling. Our wheel is tilted toward the rear of the tractor. The jaws are open. Safety unlocking handle in the automatic lock position. If you have a sliding fifth wheel, make sure it is locked. Make sure that the trailer kingpin is bent and not broken. All right, so this is the fifth wheel right here. This is our skid plate. We want to make sure that it is properly lubricated, all right, when we are inspecting it as well. Inspect area and chalk wheels. So make sure that the area around the vehicle is clear. Be sure your trailer wheels are chalked or spring brakes are on. You want to check that the cargo, if any, is secured against movement due to the tractor now being coupled to the trailer. Position the tractor directly in front of the trailer. Approach with the trailer on your left and begin turning out just as the tractor's front bumper approaches the corner of the trailer. Use both mirrors to line up with the trailer. Try to get an even amount of trailer to show in each mirror. Remember, the bobtail tractor will back just like a car. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up the video so that you can see this visually.
I can't hear Michelle.
Okay, hold on. I think it's probably playing in my AirPods and not the speaker. Hold on. Let's try that again.
Truck drivers must be able to safely and efficiently couple and uncouple semi-trailers, as it is a crucial element of doing their job safely. Whether you're a new driver or you've been driving for years, it's always good to review the essential steps. Keep watching for an all-encompassing guide on how to couple and uncouple a tractor trailer. The key to coupling a semi-trailer is being safe at all times, following the steps of the process in the right order. The easiest way to remember the process is aim, align, inspect, make a secure couple. Back up until the tractor's rear drive wheels are just under the nose of the trailer, and the fifth wheel is not touching the trailer. Set the brakes, put the truck in neutral, turn off the engine, remove the key from the ignition, and safely exit the truck. Check the height of the trailer. Make sure the front edge of the trailer will contact the lower half of the tilted fifth wheel's ramp area. Make sure the trailer's kingpin is in good condition and in line with the center of the fifth wheel opening. It must be less than 2 inches to the left or the right of the center. Ensure the fifth wheel opening is free of obstructions and the jaw is completely open. Starting on the driver's side of the truck, make sure the fifth wheel is securely mounted with no cracks or illegal welds. The pivot pin and cotter key are secure and the slider pins are locked into place. And the slider stop locks are also secure. Pull the handle all the way out and ensure that it's not bent, that the rear of the fifth wheel is fully tilted down, and the plate is well greased. Check the landing gear for cracks, bends, and broken parts. Walk around the entire trailer and ensure that the tandem release handle is pushed all the way in and down. The slider locks are engaged and the brake shoes are tight against the drums. And there are no obstacles above, below, around the trailer that would prevent it from coupling. Inspect the fifth wheel from the passenger side and ensure it's securely mounted with no cracks or illegal wells. Check the pivot pin and Carter key and look at the slider pins and slider stop blocks. Make sure everything is locked in place and damage-free. Slowly back up until the fifth wheel picks up the nose of the trailer. Stop before the fifth wheel locks. Once the trailer suspension adjusts, back up gently until the fifth wheel locks. Listen for a click or wait until you feel the tractor will not back any further. After it locks, gently pull the tractor forward until you feel it tug on the kingpin without moving the trailer. Do this twice to ensure the kingpin is locked into the fifth wheel. Put the truck in neutral, set the brake, turn out the engine, take the key and exit the truck to make sure there's no gap between the trailer and the fifth wheel. Push the release handle, ensure it is properly positioned. Check to make sure the locking bar of the fifth wheel jaw is fully across the kingpin. The lower flange of the kingpin is visible under the locking bar. Connect the air and electrical lines. There are 3 lines on the tractor: red, green, and blue. Grab the blue line by the glad hand and pull it down to release it from the coupler on the tractor. Place the blue line glad hand at a 90-degree angle with the trailer's blue coupler. Slide the glad hand's groove into the coupler to lock the line into place. Next, grab the green line by the black plug and pull up to release it from the tractor socket. Find the round silver flat covered socket next to the blue line connection on the trailer. Lift the flap and push the green line's plug into the socket. Connect the red line's glad hand to the trailer's red coupler using the same steps as the blue line. Crank up the landing gear and secure the handle. The acronym for uncoupling a trailer is DROP. Deliver, roll down first, then release. Observe the uncoupling, pause. Drive or back into position for uncoupling. Set the trailer brakes and back slightly to relieve the pressure between the fifth wheel locking jaw and the kingpin. Set the tractor brakes, shut down the tractor, remove the key from the ignition and exit the tractor. Check the ground for uneven surfaces or soft areas. Make sure you have a solid surface for the landing gear to rest. Lower the landing gear until both pads are securely on the ground. There's no need for extra turns after that. Disconnect the air and electrical hoses, secure them to the back of the cab. Pull the release handle on the fifth wheel. If the handle does not pull easily, back the tractor up a very small amount to release pressure on the jaws. Drive the truck slightly forward. Stop it with the trailer still over the top of the tractor's rear drive wheels. Make sure the trailer's landing gear is holding the weight of the trailer. Wait at least 60 seconds before pulling away to prevent damage to the tractor. Make sure the airbags are deflated and you have good traction before driving off. We hope this video has helped you understand how to couple and uncouple a tractor trailer. Make sure to aim when coupling and drop when uncoupling to ensure safety. As always, remember to subscribe and follow Schneider to get more truck driving content.
All right, let's switch back over. So I like using Schneider videos. They're one of the largest trucking companies out there, but they're very big on safety. And their videos are always short and to the point. All right, so I hope that gave you just a nice little visual and a break from all of my reading to help you understand coupling a little bit. Of course, you guys will learn how to actively do this when you get out there in the yard. But sometimes this does help, especially when you're preparing to take your permit test, to get a better understanding of what's going on. So we want to inspect the area and chalk our wheels. We want to make sure the area around the vehicle is clear. We want to be sure our trailer wheels are chalked, our spring brakes are on. We want to check the cargo, if any, is secured against movement to the due to the tractor being coupled to the trailer. Let's see. I think let's go here. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so we want to back slowly until we are approximately 1/4 of the way under the fifth wheel and no more than halfway under. Being able to tell where the point is may take some practice. It is better to stop too soon than too late. All right. Backing under a trailer when the trailer is too high can lead to what we call a high hook. So what that means is the trailer is entirely too high. So when you go under, it's not clicking, it's not latching. So, you can get stuck as well. So you definitely want to pay attention, which is why, in the video, it showed that he got under it just a little bit, but not enough for it to latch. That way it gives you time to look out of your window, look in your mirrors and see, or get out, look and inspect and make sure you're directly right under where you should be. If it's too high, then you got time, to use your landing gears and bring yourself back down, lower your trailer, or raise it up if you need to raise it up. That is 100% expected of you as drivers when you're connecting to trailers, especially if you just, if it's a trailer that you didn't drop, and it's a brand new trailer that you're connecting to, so it might not be leveled enough for your truck, or if you dropped it and, so that it can load it, because some facilities that we go to, we are required to drop our trailer while they load it and then come back to it. Sometimes we call them yard dogs. And what they do is they drive around the yard, maneuvering the trailers everywhere, putting them in the docks, pulling them out of docks, etc. So if the trailer was too high for the dock and the forklift couldn't get on it, sometimes they'll have the yard dog, who will connect to the trailer and lower it, a little bit so that they can get onto it correctly. So there's so many different scenarios that can happen. So we should always just assume that this is a brand new trailer that we are connecting to. Get under it just a little bit, get out, inspect, make sure, the adjustments are correct, it's at the right height, etc., and then back right under it. Okay. All of this, like this, it says it does come with practice, but if you're lining it up and you're stopping, you're getting out, you're looking, and then getting under it, you won't have any problems. The biggest thing that can happen if you are not secure is dropping your trailer. That is a huge no-no. You don't want it to happen to you. I had a young lady who called me over the weekend, wanting some help with finding a job because, she dropped her trailer. And the company that she worked for released her. She mentioned I inspected and everything, and I'm not sure how I dropped the trailer. Well, she pulled off and it wasn't connected. So if she had inspected, as she kept trying to reassure me that she did, she would not have dropped the trailer. So I'm, letting you guys know it's very important to know you do not want to drop your trailer. Checking your trailer height. The trailer should be low enough that it is raised slightly by the tractor when the tractor is backed under it. You want to raise or lower the trailer as needed. If the trailer is too low, the tractor may strike and damage the trailer nose. If the trailer is too high, it may not couple correctly. You also want to check that the kingpin and fifth wheel are aligned. Connect your air lines to your trailer. Check your glad hand seals and connect tractor emergency air line to the trailer emergency glad hand. Check your glad hand seals and connect your tractor service air line to the trailer service glad hand. Make sure air lines are safely supported where they won't be crushed or caught while the tractor is backing under, okay? Then we want to supply air to the trailer. From the cab, you want to push in the air supply knob to supply air to the trailer brake system. Who can tell me what color is our air supply knob? real quickly? Who can tell me? The air supply knob inside the truck. Alrighty. So let's wait until the air pressure is normal. Check our brake system for any crossed lines. Shut the engine off so you can hear the brakes. Apply and release your trailer brakes and listen for the sound of the trailer brakes being applied and released. You can hear that. That's one of the things I like about the air brake system. It makes it very easy for us. Check the air brake system pressure gauge for signs of major air loss. For a combination vehicle with the engine off and the service brakes applied, the leakage rate should be no more than 4 psi in a minute. With the engine off and the service, the brakes released, with the engine off and the service brakes released, the leakage rate should be no more than 3 psi in a minute. When you are sure the trailer brakes are working, start your engine. Make sure your air pressure is up to normal. Locking our trailer brakes. We want to pull out the air supply knob or move the tractor protection valve control from normal to emergency. Backing under the trailer. Use the lowest reverse gear. Back the tractor slowly under the trailer to avoid hitting the kingpin too hard. Stop when the kingpin is locked into the fifth wheel. Check connection for security. You want to pull the tractor gently forward while the trailer brakes are still locked to check that the trailer is locked onto the tractor. All right, so securing our vehicle. We want to put the transmission in neutral. We want to put our parking brakes on. We want to shut off the engine and take the key with us so someone else won't move it while we are under the truck. All right, so this is very important. It's very important to make sure that we are securing our vehicles, especially when we're in the yards. Inspect coupling. Use a flashlight if necessary. Make sure there is no space between the upper and lower fifth wheel. If there is space, something is wrong. The kingpin may be on top of the closed fifth wheel jaws, and the trailer would come loose very easily. So we want to make sure that there's proper spacing between it, all right? If there's any large gaps of space, then absolutely we may not be connected correctly. So you want to inspect it and make sure before you pull. What's the most prominent way to inspect that we are connected correctly? Who can answer that for me? Outside of, physically looking at it, how else do we inspect to make sure that we are connected, our truck is connected correctly to our trailer?
To go look at the gauges on the truck after you start. To see how the air pressure is, right?
That's one thing, but even without the airlines on it, how can we check?
A tug test?
Correct, a tug test.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Perfect. If we are doing tug tests the right way, so not connecting and then, burning off, but actually doing a tug test, then we would definitely know if we are connected. It will definitely help you from not dropping your trailer. Okay. All right. So before I move forward, any questions on what we went over so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay, I apologize that, guys. I was not realizing I was on mute. All right, so connect the electrical cord and check air lines. We want to plug the electrical cord into the trailer and fasten the safety catch. We want to check both air lines and electrical lines for signs of damage. We want to make sure that the air and electrical lines will not hit any moving parts of the vehicle. Does anyone know why that's important to make sure that they're not hitting any moving parts of the vehicles?
So it won't rupture the hoses.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then if they're dragging on the ground, it's metal tips, so they can cause sparks. We have fuel tanks with diesel in it. It's just very dangerous. So we definitely want to make sure, that we have them in its proper place. And when it's not being used, that we have them fastened, okay? Raising our landing gear. So you want to use a low gear range, if so equipped, to begin raising the landing gear. Once free of weight, switch to the high gear range. Raise the landing gear all the way up. Never drive with the landing gear only part way up, as it may catch on railroad tracks or other things. After raising your landing gear, you want to secure the crank handle very safely when it has reached its full weight of trailer is resting on the tractor. Check for enough clearance between the rear of the tractor frame and the landing gear. When the tractor turns sharply, it must not hit the landing gear. Check that there is enough clearance between the top of the tractor tires and the nose of the trailer. Okay, so why do you think we need to make sure that we have clearance between the top of the tractor tires and the nose of the trailer?
So it doesn't rub the fifth wheel wrong for like friction and turns.
Yep. Why else do you think we need clearance between the rear of our tractor frame and the landing gear? Can anyone answer that?
So the legs won't hit the tires.
That's right. That's right. You don't want to hit the tires. It can definitely cut them. So it's very dangerous. So absolutely, we want to make sure that we have the proper clearance. So that's, I think we all can come to the conclusion, the whole reason of, getting our permit is for safety. And that's, the entire purpose of doing our inspections is so that, while we are on the road, we can just drive in peace and not have to worry, about things going wrong. Before I jump into air brakes, and you can just raise your hand, but how many of you are testing this week for combinations in air brakes? Okay, good. Perfect. So this definitely will help you all. All right, let's get right back into it. So uncoupling, make sure the surface of the parking area can support the weight of the trailer. Have the tractor lined up with the trailer, pulling out at an angle can damage your landing gears. Ease the pressure on locking jaws. You want to shut off the trailer air supply to lock the trailer brakes. Ease the pressure on your fifth wheel locking jaws by backing up gently. This will help you release the fifth wheel locking lever. Put parking brakes on while the tractor is pushing up against the kingpin. This will hold the rig with the pressure off of the locking jaws. Okay, so chalking our trailer wheels. Does everyone know what chocks are? Okay, good. So you want to chalk your trailer wheels if the trailer doesn't have spring brakes or if you're not sure. The air could leak out of the trailer air tank, releasing its emergency brakes. Without chocks, the trailer could move. You want to lower the landing gear. If the trailer is empty, lower the landing gear until it makes firm contact with the ground. If the trailer is loaded, after the landing gear makes firm contact with the ground, turn the crank in low gear a few extra turns. This will lift some weight off of the tractor. Do not lift the trailer off of the fifth wheel. This will make it easier to unlatch the fifth wheel. It will also make it easier to couple the next time you need to. All right, after that, we want to disconnect our air lines and our electrical cables. How do we do that? We disconnect the air lines from the trailer. We connect our air line glad hands to the dummy couplers at the back of the cab or couple them together. We hang the electrical cable with the plug down to prevent moisture from entering it. We make sure lines are supported so that they won't be damaged while driving the tractor. Unlocking the fifth wheel. You raise the release handle lock, pull the release handle to the open position, keep your legs and feet clear of the rear tractor wheels to avoid serious injury in case the vehicle moves. All right, so we want to pull our tractor forward until the fifth wheel comes out from under the trailer. Stop with the tractor frame under the trailer. That prevents the trailer from falling to the ground if the landing gear should collapse or sink. Inspect our landing gear. Make sure the ground is supporting the trailer. Make sure the landing gear is not damaged. Where it says make sure the ground is supporting the trailer, there will be yards that you go to where you make a delivery or you have to drop your trailer and it might have rained that day and the ground is very, very soft, or it's just soft clay, period. You want to make sure, especially if you have a heavy load, that wherever you plant your trailer, the ground is hard enough for you to drop the trailer. Okay? There are some places where you go where the ground might be uneven. So before you drop your trailer, you might have to use some blocks, which is wood that you have on your truck. And you might have to put it under there so that you can give it, an even place for you to drop your trailer. So there are several different instances that you might see. But you want to make sure, that before you put the trailer down, that it can support exactly what you're placing on it. If you're empty, sometimes it's not that bad, but especially if you are loaded, the landing gears can go right into the ground. So you want to make sure that you are inspecting everything before you drop your trailer. Pull your tractor clear of the trailer, release your parking brakes, and check the area and drive the tractor forward until it clears. All right, so let's do a review before I work on scheduling everyone. We still got a little bit time left before I start scheduling. So let's do a quick review. Before you back under a trailer, you want to make sure that 1, the trailer will not move, 2, the tractor protection valve is normal, or 3, the air brakes are on. Let's answer it for me in the chat. Good job. You are coupling a trailer to the tractor. The trailer is at the correct height when the end of the kingpin is even with the fifth wheel, the kingpin is aligned with the fifth wheel, or the trailer will raise slightly when you back under it.
Okay, next question. The locking jaws of the fifth wheel could lock around the kingpin. When you back under a trailer, you should line up what? 1, the kingpin, 2, the kingpin with the fifth wheel, or 3, directly in front of the trailer.
Number 3.
Okay, yeah, that's the correct answer. Directly in front of the trailer. So basically, when we're backing the truck up, you really want to align your driver's side tractor tire directly in line with the side of the trailer, which would definitely put you directly in front of the trailer. And then once you get under the trailer with the skid plate, the trailer is going to rise slightly, and that's how you know you can connect correctly. If that kingpin is raised up a little bit above the skid plate, then you're going to go over it, and the trailer is going to end up hitting the tractor, and we don't want to do that. Next question. The locking jaws of the fifth wheel could lock around the kingpin head, it can lock around the base, or it should lock around the shank. I think that's a pretty self-explanatory one on that one. Okay, looks like everyone got that correct. That is correct. Whenever you're backing into the kingpin, if that locking jaw locks around the head of the kingpin, well, as soon as it won't even lock correctly at all. It won't even lock around it completely. If it locks around the base of the kingpin, it could slide out. But if it locks around the shank, it will completely lock around that kingpin. And then once you put your truck, you press your brake to put your truck in gear and give it a tug forward, then you know you'll be hooked up correctly. Okay. I'll move on to the next question. The fifth wheel is not locked after the jaws close. This means 1, it can be adjusted for weight distribution. 2, the fifth wheel may be moved if necessary. Or 3, the coupling is not correct and should be fixed. Yeah, we're definitely going to go number 3 with that one. If in any case, and I mean in any case, when you back into the kingpin and that lockjaw does not lock around that kingpin, you'll be able to tell. It's almost like you'll be running into a metal wall or something. As soon as you back into it, you'll hear the thump. Boom. If you don't hear the click and you do your tug test to pull forward, you'll feel your tractor move away from that trailer a little bit. So that's when you know right then and there that you need to pull your truck away from the trailer and check the lockjaw to see if it's actually locked already. It does happen sometimes. So that's one of the reasons why we carry a crowbar inside of our truck in our carrying case. And we'll get there and you basically need to pry the locking jaws open with the crowbar when that happens. It happens pretty often. So that tug test is also very necessary whenever you're backing into the kingpin. And I see everyone answered number 3. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. The air leakage rate for a combination vehicle with the engine off and the service brake applied should be no more than 1, 3 psi, 2, 2 psi, or 3, 4 psi. All right, so the correct answer for that one is 3 psi. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next question because we're kind of running short on time. You have coupled with a trailer In what position should the landing gear be before driving away? 1, fully down with the handle stored. 2, fully raised with the handle in the bracket. 3, fully raised with the handle free. All right, everybody's got that answer correct. It should be fully raised with the handle in the bracket. When we're driving along on the highway, we don't need the handle flopping around out there. It can loosen up the screw, possibly fall off of the trailer and hit someone else's car. So the correct answer for that one is 2. Next question. The air leakage rate for a combination vehicle with the engine off and the service brakes released should be less than 1, 3 psi, 2, 2 psi, or 3, 4 psi. Okay, so for a couple of the students who've been in the class already that's in this group, we know when we do the in-cab inspection, once we release the brakes, we're going to do that 1-minute leak test. And as we're pressing on that leak test, on the brake for the leak test, we shouldn't lose no more than 4 psi. So the correct answer is 4 psi, which is 3. Next question. The fifth wheel should be well lubricated to ensure 1, a proper connection to the trailer apron, 2, the lack of steering problems, or 3, the reduction of noise. All right, I see everybody's chimed in on 2, which is the correct answer, the lack of steering problems. So if we have a skid plate that's connected to the trailer and it's non-greased, it can cause a stutter or a lack. Basically, when you're steering, it's nothing but friction, and you're going to strip your skid plate. You're going to have metal shavings. It has to be properly lubed in order to steer correctly. You have a nice smooth steering when you're turning either from the left or the right. So the correct answer is number 2, and I'll move on to the next one. After you supply air to the trailer, make sure the air lines are not crossed and the trailer brakes are working by 1, stepping on the brake with the pedal while pulling away. 2, use the hand valve while pulling. 3, visually inspect the glad hand and connectors and connections, the service brake adjustment. Okay, the correct answer is number 1 to that one. I'm gonna move on to the next question. Sorry for the pause. Okay, you are coupling a tractor to your trailer. Before backing under the trailer, you should 1, make sure the trailer will not move. 2, make sure that the trailer service brakes are off. 3, make sure that the trailer has emergency brakes. Okay, that is the correct answer. The correct answer is number 1. So with the trailer sitting, before we back under the trailer, we want to make sure that 1, that the landing gear is all the way down on that trailer and that it is sitting at a proper height. Number 2, when we back under that trailer, if it starts moving as soon as you're trying to back under it, then you need to pull away from that trailer and either put a chalk or something behind one of the wheels so the trailers won't move so you can connect to the trailer correctly. I'll move on to the next question. You have completed your tractor. You have coupled your tractor to a trailer, excuse me. Make sure that you have enough clearance between the trailer apron and the tractor tires. 2, you have enough clearance between the tractor frame and landing gear. 3, you have both of the above. That is the correct answer. The correct answer is number 3. We want to make sure that everything is in place before we back under that trailer, that we have enough clearance between the trailer apron and the tractor tires. You don't want your trailer rubbing on top of the tractor tires. 2, you have to have enough clearance between the tractor frame and the landing gear. So that area where the mud flap is and the tail lights, whenever you swing your truck from left to right, it could possibly rub up against the landing gear. So in that case, if that does happen, then we would have to move back the tandem slide release pin that's on the 5th wheel. We would have to open that up and move the 5th wheel back just a little bit for allow for that clearance between the tractor frame and the landing gear. Next question. You have coupled to a trailer. How much space should be between the 5th wheel and the trailer? 1, none. 2, half an inch. 3, no more than 1/16 of an inch. This should be an easy one. All right, the correct answer to this question is number 1, none. whenever you slide and you're backing into your trailer, your fifth wheel or your skid plate should sit right up under that apron. There should be no gap or daylight between the apron and the skid plate. So the correct answer to that is number 1. Okay, so that concludes all 63 questions here.
All right, so let's see, I think I saw one person.